All right. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? How's everybody doing this morning? We are the brothers, and this is the podcast. We are here this morning, going live, and truly, truly excited about today as we talk about and discuss and wrap up season one. So, as you know, the brothers have been going on strong for a few months, and we did our first season run, and it has been amazing run. It has been truly phenomenal when you're talking about brothers who get together from the diverse backgrounds, diverse faiths, but most common faiths, but most importantly just being able to dialogue and discuss matters and topics at a level and a synergy that's unprecedented. And so it's just been amazing to be with my brothers and just have this wonderful platform just to come on here and be a part of something uplifting, something motivational, something spiritual, something that allows you to learn and to grasp and to grow personally, professionally, spiritually, holistically, all the way around. We pride ourselves on a diverse array of topics and things that really, really resonate with you, the listening audience. And so today, as we continue in our journey, we definitely are grateful. So, brothers, how we doing this morning?
Doing well.
Doing well.
Beautiful.
All right.
Shaking these cobwebs off.
You said shaking these cobwebs off, huh?
Man, listen.
Oh,
I think when you cross 40 and then you get to that halfway mark, it's right at 50, you start, bless the Lord. It's a little different.
Man, I'm telling you, when you cross over that 40 threshold, brother, I'm with you on that, man.
Hey, Pastor Tim, that's what my knee was telling me this morning with all this weather down here.
Oh, yeah.
I understand.
Dude. So yeah, hey y'all, if y'all just logging in onto the live podcast, go ahead and let us know that you're here. Go ahead and hit that share button, that like button, and just go ahead and share out to all of your Facebook page fans and friends and family, and so that they can be a part of this show. So fellas, hey, I wanted to come in today as we talk about today, just kind of highlighting season one. Who want to start off and kick us off? Kind of like, what did you think of season one? What were some of the aha moments where you were like, yeah, that was dope, how that went down, So what was that for you guys?
I would say for me, brother, I enjoy watching the growth of the show, watching it take more of a structured approach, and us as men meeting and saying, okay, what topics, what information can we give the people that are critical, that are not having these type of conversations on an open forum, and then being able to provide that with different levels of insight, because we learn from each other a lot. And I think having the community to come in and engage in that is amazing. One thing that I personally enjoyed is when we had featured guests. Mm-hmm. Man, I love that, the excitement, the phone calls, just brothers, and then inviting brothers with their expertise to be able to provide guidance. So man, that was one of the key highlights for myself.
Man, but just tapping into that show we did on health, man, off the chain, bro.
Yeah.
That was really diving in deep, just really knowing how to live a more healthy and productive life, and knowing how to exercise, and knowing how to move in that vein even more closely, and just know how we live this busy day-to-day life anyway. You talk with the day-to-day life, and then how to incorporate healthy foods, dieting, and then not dieting, and then what works best for you, your body, and your health. And so to me, that was an amazing show, and the guests we had on that show was off the chain good as well too.
I agree.
Yeah, I probably say over this season, I really enjoyed the relationship episode between males and females. Of course, that's always a touchy topic. So, that was some interesting dialogue on that particular show.
Right.
Man, I tell y'all what, my wife was like, why y'all like, wait a minute. So yeah, y'all just gave straight male perspective. And I was like, and so the people that I know with females was like, I wanted to comment on comment on certain aspects of it, because it was like, why y'all didn't give the full female perspective? I was like, well, we gave the perspective. You right? So
and the females were going off in the comments.
Right.
So, it was a lot of good feedback.
Yeah, it was a lot of good feedback on that show, man. And so we were like, I was like, what are you talking about? But she was like, some of that kind of seemed, one-sided and not dual-sided. And then she said there were many aspects where it was definitely both-sided, from the male and from a female perspective as well, too. So that's good, man. But I know that we were, that show was truly cool too, man. Yeah,
most definitely.
I think that just in full transparency, I'll let you guys know I was a little apprehensive in the very beginning, and Dr. Love can share with you my hesitation in doing the show at all. And I will tell you, my heart has been overjoyed by what I've seen in the brotherhood and the communication and the information and what I've learned from you guys, just during this entire process. And I was very apprehensive because whenever you combine people that may have a slightly different view faith-wise, it can be tumultuous in the idea process. And, I was just very thankful, man, and how much I've learned from you guys. It's been a blessing, man, for real. But as far as shows, that show that talked about Are You Enough? It really hit home for me, man. There was so much that we discussed that I learned tremendously from you guys, and sometimes just talking through things, you realize you're preaching to yourself a lot of times. You're speaking to yourself, and those things which you believe that you're strong in, when you hear them verbalized, it makes you revisit those moments and begin to maximize on things that you think you have overcome and help you get strong in those areas. So for me, it was therapeutic for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's good. That's good insight, brother.
I think go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I think that, like I said, when we started watching the show grow, and it gave us the opportunity for the people to see people from different walks of life come to an agreement, despite the differences. But even in the disagreements, it's like, I understand that perspective. I understand your perspective, and I understand your perspective as well. And I think that we should have more interpersonal conversations like this with persons, because it's good for the community as well. So I think that like the brother said, that was good. And the comments that we got on that particular broadcast was great. We got a lot of great feedback from the women in the community about how to overcome relationships, how to overcome just feeling like they're not enough, and being left with the burden of emotions of things that didn't work, and then being able to give them clear guidance. And sometimes guidance isn't always what you want to hear, but it's what's best. It's kind of what you've already known.
Yeah.
And you just have to allow yourself to work past that. So I think that we've given some great points on those things as well.
Right. I think many times, man, people are afraid to be vulnerable in the moment, right? Mm-hmm. And you're afraid of that vulnerability because you don't want to seem weak, or you don't want to seem not enough, or you don't want to seem. But truly, on the inside, you're already there, right? And that level of vulnerability is not always expressed outwardly. You know,
true.
It's always inwardly, but it's not expressed outwardly. And I think sometimes we have so many those vulnerabilities, but I think if they're never not addressed, then it leads to the most precious levels of insecurities that becomes to permeate every aspect of what you do. What's going on, Brother Shahid? And every aspect of who you are. And I think even in that show, we gave people a lot to chew on, a lot to really chew on and think about, like, how do I overcome that level of insecurity? How do I overcome that level of not being enough and saying that I'm not enough, or feeling in a relationship that, it's, the duality of that relationship is not going to work out because of that level of insecurity or lack of vulnerability. And I think we give a lot of perspective for men and for women, basically as well too, just basically on our own set of experience that we've lived through, walked through, faced, still facing, still climbing through at the same time. So that show, man, for me was just reaffirming, as Patrick said, reaffirming, and knowing that, as a man of faith, as a husband, as a father, as a leader, it's okay to be vulnerable. And it's okay to express that outwardly of the vulnerability and not hold the vulnerability in.
Right.
But I'm still a work in progress now. I ain't say I ain't there.
I'm glad you said it first.
I think it was tremendously important because we mentioned in that show the importance of, especially for men, not necessarily putting all the weight that we carry on our wives. True. And being able to utilize each other as brothers. To shift that rate, Proverbs says a brother was made for adversity. And talk about that. And I think in that discussion, it helped a lot of people understand that sometimes we're bringing a weight to our wives that they weren't built to carry. And we need to be taking the venting process, the weight carrying process to our brothers and say, hey, I'm having a concern with carrying this weight. Help them talk you through it, walk you through it, and at least hear you out, get it off your chest. So when you get home to your wife, you won't shift that weight to her that she wasn't built to carry. I think they have a lot of that, I believe.
Absolutely. But I think one of the things too, Pastor Tim, and everybody y'all can start jumping in. I think we as brothers don't, like I said, and that's been vulnerable to one to another too, is sharing that as well too. I remember having a conversation with Dr. Johnson, and I'm like, you two experienced that? And we were both like, he was like, yeah. And I was like, what? And you think about like these working professionals who were supposed to be strong, were supposed to be all that, and take on all these things, right? And so it was just reaffirming. I was like, okay, And so when he said that, I was like, oh wow, And so just to know that there's another commonality that we can share, and kind of build, like, that was kind of cool to say. If I needed actually additional help or something, I know he's been through it. He's walked the shoes, right? And so he can provide that level of insight. But I was just like, man, that was cool for me. I was like, I never knew.
Hey, Dr. Love, I had that same feeling. I was like, man, I feel like I'm not on an island, right. And that's how you feel sometimes. You're like, I'm probably the only person who's going through this, and you find out someone else is, especially another professional. You're like, okay, I'm not in this alone. So this is somebody I can bounce ideas off of or give a call to whenever I may be experiencing particular symptoms to kind of overcome and push through it.
Right. So, Brother Love, let me ask you a question. Initially when we started, or when we tuned into the broadcast, we came on as guests. And what type of reception or feedback did you get from that made you say, you know what, let me bring the brothers in. Let's make this a continuum as far as in the dialogue of the different faiths and men from different walks of life and different professions. What was kind of the motivating factor for you to bring the brothers on board and to continue the conversation?
Man, brother, after that first show, it was solidified after that. After that first show that we had together, it was just kind of like there was a level of synergy that was created in that first show, right? And there was a level of that we could bounce ideas, we can share in ideology and thought. We could disagree and still be on the same target. You know what I'm saying? And I knew that our commonalities would unite us more than anything. And so I wanted to be able to provide that level to people, right? Because I was telling somebody else, I said, if everybody on the show was all the same, it would be boring. It'll be boring, boring, boring. And people would be like, they all say the same thing. They all do, it would, man. But I thought about 5 Black brothers coming together to give insight, perspective, thought, ideology, share wisdom, experiences, life, doing life together. You know what I'm saying? Would speak to the world, man, would speak volumes and move that thing. And so, and that's when I was like, and then I just got, it was right. You know what I'm saying? You know how when you feel like this is just right. This is the right for right here, right now in this season. And you know that this is what you're supposed to do. And so I felt like at that moment that, and after that show, like, this is it. This is it. These 5 brothers right here. Yeah, let's go to war. We can go to war together. These 5 brothers right here. And so that's what, led me to go ahead and move forward in this journey.
That's great.
Taping it and then saying let's call it the Brothers Podcast and everything, man. And so that's kind of how this thing was birthed after that first show.
Gotcha. Yeah. We'll see.
So how you, because you and I'm not trying to get too far deep into it, but you've written a book now. The greater, your greater is right now. So you in the midst of the book, you're dealing with now the devotional, you podcast, you're dealing with pastoring, you're dealing with dad, you're dealing with husband. Tell me the juggling structure. I mean, because the podcast alone, we can all help carry that weight, but you as leader of the cast, man, that's quite a bit, bro. How are you handling the balance and the structure, and are you okay?
I'm a work in progress, brother. A work in progress. Sometimes you get it right, and then sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have to, learn the balance of that, all of that. And so right now I'm still defining that balance and really trying to cultivate that balance and being intentional at the same time. And so for me, it's that juggling act. It's making sure that, I think the most hardest thing is trying to remember everything, right? You're trying to make sure you got 10 different things running. I know Shahid and everybody else understand you got 10 different things running at one time. And it's trying to decide, okay, did I do that? Did I remember this? Did I remember that? More than anything. But I think that what has been the best thing is my wife. She is a true trooper. And I couldn't do the half of what I do without her and her support in maintaining everything on the other back end. So that's been kind of that piece, but just me trying to juggle it all. Like I'm a work in progress in that, just to make and trying to make sure that I give adequate attention and time. And then there's some things that I'm getting ready to get off my plate. And I know it's essential for me. I don't want to, because I really love higher ed and academia a lot, but teaching in that higher ed and academia, it's a lot. So I got to give up some things to kind of pursue the other passions that God has placed before me, right? So that's what I'm doing now. So I don't want to, and it's going to be hard for me, but I know I got to give it up to create success in another area.
Well said. That's a lesson within itself.
Everybody on the team, we all have hectic lives, and I can only imagine what the other guys' agenda looks like in 1 week. And I think it's important to understand that sometimes you have to not only prioritize, but understand what doesn't belong on your plate.
Yeah.
And what sometimes we are exercising an exercise in futility.
Yeah.
We're running after something, and everything that we are carrying in our backpack doesn't belong. And some of that weight is just useless. When I was in the military, we carried an 80-pound rucksack. The responsibility of that was to get used to carrying that weight and making sure you had everything you need while you were in a desert land, in a strange place, and getting used to that moment, and you could handle it. And also, if you had to carry your brother, what that felt like.
Yeah.
But on a regular basis, that's not what you carry. And I think some of us try to carry that full 80-pound rucksack on a regular basis, not understanding God didn't build you to carry all that all the time. So I think that's very wise, very wise.
So, Pastor Tim, that's another good hashtag that you've added to the show. Exercise and futility. You've had several throughout the season. So
hey, well, the one last week was off the chain though.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, don't be a question, be the answer.
Yeah,
that was it. That was don't be the question, be the answer. Absolutely.
I think Yo has had. I think Brother Mario has had way more than I have.
Well, yeah,
that's true.
Mario was pseudo. Mario.
Yeah. Don't break your own heart.
Yeah.
Don't be the question, be the answer. That's what it was. Yeah. That's what we hashtag. And then I think it's been cool because I think each insight and even Al Shahid's and Dr. Johnson's insight has been amazing off the chain this first season 1 too. So I think everybody has contributed even more so in that piece. So Shahid, what was your kind of favorite takeaway moment of the show for season 1? Like, do you have a good one, or you like a one that you enjoyed more than other?
I would say, man, we talked about so many good topics, brother. I really just like the entire season. To point out one for me in particular would definitely be the education piece. And teaching the young ones, getting the future generation together. I think that was one of the best takeaways for me. But everything else, man, I mean, it's so hard to kind of categorize them because for me, this is therapy within itself. Just what I deal with on a daily day. I mean, even today, getting on the show was kind of hectic for me today because I had, some sibling issues going on in the house, and one want to beat up on the other one, and over some trivial. So if I'd have got on, man, it probably looked like WWE. But the reality of it, though, it's things always going on in our lives,
right?
And just learning how to manage it. So even that part that we talked about during the season about how do we manage our lives and how our wives are important in our lives and just the family structure and dynamic and spirituality and business. I mean, we talked about so many subjects, rather, that for me it's just all culminating because this is what we do on a day-to-day basis. I would like to see us talk about, discipline children. How do we discipline our children? In a working environment, and like say we're struggling with our spouse and you hear some of the language of your spouse come out in your children. How do you feel about that? And, all of the reality things that we deal with on a day-to-day. I think that would probably be a good one too. But man, the show has been good, man. I'm just glad to be a part of the brothers, man, of the brotherhood, man. It's just an honor that that we're able to, kick this off and see what God has planned for us in the future. So that's my take on it, Brother Love.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good, man. Well said. One of the things that how do you feel about, I think sometimes I don't know, have people have said this to you or not, but the perception, you got 5 brothers, right? I'm saying they're all African American. How do you think our conversation is cross-cultural? It goes across all races, cultures, and creeds, the way that we deliver the diversity in thought. Because I think perceptually, when you come on and you think that 5 brothers, we're always going to talk about social justice issues, you know what I'm saying? Like those type of things. But I think we've created a platform to where it is cross-cultural in that sense that we're going to talk about all kinds of topics, an array of topics, and really dig deep into those subject matter and really be kind of like we kind of own it, like subject matter experts in the different areas and doing that and bringing on guests. How do you think this platform kind of creates that cross-cultural perspective and reaching across the different cultures and races?
Well, Dr. Love, I think on the last episode, you really touched on a lot of those points. And the fact that you have these 5 brothers involved who take an impartial approach to addressing and answering questions helps with that impartial piece, or helps with that cross-cultural piece, because we look at things from both ends of the spectrum versus just one end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Brother Johnson on that one. I mean, because it's not monolithic with what we're speaking. It's universal with how we're speaking, also, and how we deliver the content of our individualism. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's more of a team effort than there's only one Michael Jordan on the team and everybody else. You know what I'm saying? It ain't.
Right.
It's more of it's like the All-Star game to me, and we're not pushing ourselves to like dominate each other. It's more of an inclusive conversation, and so I think the people feel the energy from that, and it synergizes better than anything else. So they get a different outcome, and you get the outcome what you're getting right now.
Yeah. So if you just tuned in into the Brothers Podcast this morning, guys, we're just doing a whole season 1 wrap up, just kind of seeing the highs and lows of season 1, what happened, what transpired. We're gonna get into our blooper moments. I'm gonna tell you about one blooper moment from last week's show. You know what I'm saying? And just recapping on just season 1, guys. But I'm trying to tell you guys, if you thought season 1 was lit, season 2 coming up for the Brothers Podcast is about to be off the chain. And so we are gearing up, getting ready for season 2. That's going to be just going to be astronomically out of this world, with greater content, more guests on our show. We kick off season 2 in June, the first Saturday in June. So get ready as one of the pastors says, Bishop TDJs, get ready. But it's coming. And so as we just dialogue and discuss, if you have a comment or that you would like for us to read, and go ahead and place that in the chat box about maybe you've seen some of our shows and there was a highlight moment for you, and there was an aha moment, or there was a takeaway that you wanted to express as we're just discussing and just having a good old time about season 1. And so we were going to come on here and just kind of rap about season 1 and wrap up season 1 as we get ready to launch season 2. So just be on the lookout for the promo videos, be on the lookout for the marketing campaigns that will be running for season 2. It's going to be off the chain. I think we're just going to increase and get better at what we do and what we love to do. So one of the blooper moments from last week, is kind of want to take away moment. So you know how we all, I guess if you've been doing podcasts and a live show, right? And you know how when people walk into, like if you're in your home, because we're all in different areas, right? So you know how somebody walk in here and you on a live, you be like, splash. So last week, Pastor Tim, y'all, listen, y'all. So Pastor Tim he going hard. I think he was going hard in the paint. You know what I'm saying? So he going hard in the paint. His wife walks in, as we were talking about. His wife walks in, and her music was going loud, or something was going loud. So he looking like what you doing?
Let me explain, man. So every morning, my wife is delightful. She gets up, and once she takes her shower, she off and popping. She good, and she normally has her YouTube or whatever he is playing, or whatever music or whatever she listening to popping. And this particular morning, she put it in her pocket while she's straightening up around the house, making sure everything is good to go, and getting ready to go into her shop in home as well. And she has her music playing, and I think she forgot that she had it on.
Right.
And she walks in the room and she waves at me like everything is fine, and hey man, like moving. I'm like, dude, you blaring like all the way through. I'm like, you kidding me, man. And I tried to wave her down, like, hey, slow it down, turn it down. And she thinks I'm waving at her.
Right.
Hey. I'm like, no, turn your music down. And
right.
She like, hey, I'm like, literally like, turn it down, bro. It was crazy.
Hey, Dr. Love, it was literally like earlier last year where that guy was working from over in England or whatever.
Right.
And he's in the Zoom meeting. And his son just kicks open the front door. He turns around like, what the?
I was like, wow.
But man, it was the face you had though, bro. And I think it was the face you had. And I think Mitch and then Shaheed busted out laughing. Because we all been there. You know, kids trying to come in or somebody walking in, you looking like, stop, don't go. Like, hey, wait a minute. Shh. You know, and we've all been there, man. It was just kind of but for you, it was like the face at the same time. It was hilarious, man. It was definitely hilarious, man.
Very
so, what has been kind of a outtake moment that you guys don't mind sharing about? You know, season 1 you had, like, what was that for you? Kind of, you know, kids coming in or anything like that, or just kind of like anything happen like that?
Oh yeah, that's quite frequent with me.
I say with Shaheed,
I'm always snapping my fingers. I think I done got it down. Y'all can't even notice it. Like, dude, ow. I don't even let them open their mouth.
I get that look. I hit mute and I get that look like, come on, man.
I think mine during the first season was during one of those episodes. I'm trying to multitask at my son's baseball tournament, and I didn't know whether or not I was on mute or not on mute. And I didn't want people hearing balls clanging in the background and everything.
Hey, Dr. Tonio, I saw you one time. You were in a game, and literally you were about to answer a question. And I guess your son was running or something, and literally midstream, mid-sentence, you look back like, and I'm like, he's talking. What happened? I'm like, oh.
One for me is when it was cold and Doc had the hoodie on. He didn't care.
That's right.
The hoodie on the whole show.
Yeah, I had the hoodie on.
That's right.
Yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, he did have a hoodie on the whole entire show, man.
That's when it was cold, brother.
That's when it was cold.
Yeah.
But I will tell you an outtake that was so you guys know, everybody doesn't know, but you guys know that my son passed away in January. So we were having a show. I think it was the Financial Freedom Show, I want to say.
Yeah.
And show was flowing extremely well. And somebody said something. I don't know if it was Al Shaheed or Dr. Tonio. It may have been Mario. I'm not sure. Somebody said something, and it triggered something that I knew my son wanted to do before he passed away, and he didn't get a chance to do.
Wow.
And I'm telling y'all, you all were talking, and I know y'all probably thought I spaced out, but literally, I was about to break down crying.
Right.
Wow.
I was trying to hold it together the rest of the whole show. And if you remember, it may have been the Financial Freedom Show. One of those shows.
It was that show, Pastor Tim. You're correct.
It was that one.
Man, it was hard, bro. I was trying to keep it together because I'm like, I don't want these cats. I don't want to hurt, destroy the show. But I was like, it was hard, man, for a moment. It was real hard.
Yeah.
So how has it been for you since then? And like, just kind of just dealing with that in general, kind of moving forward.
Well, I deal with what I call a shifting of pain. And that is right now, my wife, that was her very first child.
Yeah.
And so watching her heal and but at the same time missing our baby. He's our oldest and our first. So watching her deal with that and trying to help her through the process as much as I probably cannot, but doing my best to help her through it, helps take the attention, so to speak, off of my own pain and focus on trying to help her through what she's going through, but at the same time, dealing with my frustration of marriage. Because knowing that she's going through what she's going through, she still does things that irritate me and that I irritate her. But you can't address the things you would normally address because there's an added layer of weight and pain the other person is dealing with.
Yeah.
And so you have to exercise a level of grace with each other. Right. And I think going through that process has kind of helped me allow myself time to pain to heal while trying to make sure I watch her to make sure she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think just me knowing you, that's one of the things that I struggle, that I know you, because you're such a, you'll endure the pain and all of that. You know what I'm saying? And not like externally vocalize it. You know what I'm saying? Or it'll be on the inside, and you'll keep it locked in and not vocalize that level of pain and what you're going through. So, I got to fight with you to get to that point, to get halfway, a little bit of, like this out a bit. I'm grateful for the little bit that we can get out, but but nonetheless, man, yeah, I know that's got to be kind of definitely a thin line to kind of walk and kind of deal with, what I'm saying, on that piece, man.
You showed a great level of insight, though, brother, as I'm listening to you, that, even with, the struggles of, cohabitating with someone that does things different, and the irritation that comes in with that, recognizing that this is not the time to highlight those right now is really good. And also, when you think about loss, right? When you think about that, when you look at those that you still have around you, man, you grow closer to them, because you keep in mind that, what's that old saying? And I know it's in other cultures. We also said in Islam, if it wasn't for Allah, there go I. And really just start appreciating and our children, and appreciating our spouses and this life's journey, and then just really just thanking God for the time that we had. And I just really pray God's peace and strength on you and your family, brother. I can't imagine losing a child, man. It's one of the greatest fears that I think any parent has, is that, man, either I'm gonna have to leave this child at some point, or this child gonna have to leave me. And then just doing our best to raise them right, doing our best to make sure that the minds are developed right, like what you said, Shaheed, parenting, right? The early stages of parenting is so important, because those stages develop the self-esteem of the child. The child isn't old enough to understand how the world feeds off, how the world provides feedback based on their actions and things like that. They're not aware of that. And so, just for any other parents listening, man, Dr. Antonio, going to those games, Brother Shaheed, going to those games, that those are very, very milestone moments. Not saying that, think about it. We're on a podcast, but if my brother's son got a game, the podcast going to the game.
Right. That's true.
What I'm saying? And they're gonna see me getting in, and I honor that, and I appreciate that fatherhood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because man, we're gonna do things in life. 10 years down the line, our children are going to mention how much that meant to them.
Right. Absolutely.
So these moments are very impressionable on children as well. Right. And so, I just wanted to say that piece.
Great point.
Great. So, but going back to that though, man, like you said, just having the and I'm gonna try to ask this question, because I'm thinking in my mind, when do I have the initial conversation? We have sons, and I have two, and I know everybody has a son. So, when do you think is good to have the talk, when you realize to say, "Hey, you're Black, you're different, so this is how you have to walk in society"? Even when you're thinking as relatives, not all policing is, I'm not trying to, police are bad or anything like that, to have that initial conversation. When do you think is a good age? And this is just me asking, because just for purpose sake, to have that conversation to where it's fully conceptualized, you understand. I know it'll be an ongoing conversation, but when do you think the initial conversation should start or happen?
Well, right now, with the way everything is displayed on media, my son just turned 8, but he's intelligent enough to where he was already asking questions at 5,
right?
Just from seeing what's on the news on, hey, why did this man get killed the way he did, and what's going on? So it's really, I mean, not necessarily a set age, but they're seeing, our children are seeing so much more now, not only in regular media, but also in social media compared to when we grew up.
Correct.
That they're asking those questions at a lot earlier age than we had those discussions as young men.
True.
Yeah.
I would concur with Brother Johnson. I mean, like mine, man, he was asking questions around the same age, about 5, you know, because of social media, because of, you know, they may see it in school, something may pop up on YouTube, you know, spam and all of that. So it's good to bring him into the brotherhood as early as possible so you can help guide that so no one else can beat you to the punch.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's critical and key too. I just didn't know my 2 boys into video games, and so they rarely looking at TV like that. Like, you know, so we're sitting it now. My daughter is more exposed and have the conversations with my sons are, you know, I think I'm trying to gauge the maturity route of that to be able to own the conversation and really you know, own that conversation with them. So, and they can own the conversation as well too. So
and the critical piece of that conversation too, Dr. Love, is really having your children to understand, just like anything else, despite you seeing this on the news, everyone isn't like this.
Correct.
It's good people in every race and ethnic origin and religion, and it's bad people in every race, ethnic origin, and religion as well. So you can't gauge all of your decisions based on one particular instance. You have to really, kind of like Pastor Tim said in that last episode, really look at the overall picture of everything involved before you make a decision on something.
Correct.
If I could add too, also, brother, the children are noticing that it's reoccurring.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's gonna come up. But I think for me, my son is 6, and I'm not gonna let my son see me ignore it. Correct. So if they watch the news and they see a George Floyd situation, their mind is going to shift to how is dad responding. You know, is he still able to go to work and change the channel and move about life? Then we're subconsciously desensitizing the children by not ignoring it. I mean, by ignoring it. And so I'm very active with my son to explain to him that there are still some things that are not necessarily as clear, you know. And so when injustices and things like this happen, especially when they can identify this person looks like my dad, this person looks like my father. When they see things like that, you know, you got to go into teaching. So we have to, especially in today's time, we can't undermine the intelligence of the children. They're very smart, you know, they're very smart. And there's going to be something in them at some point that they're not going to like that. They're going to be dissatisfied and they're going to do something about it. And that's when we get to the manhood training and teaching them how to carry themselves as men. Like in our community in the Nation of Islam, we can't carry weapons, you know, so we have to carry ourselves a certain type of way and provide ourselves with certain levels of discipline. So that's not even something that just needs to happen in our home. Men need to be more active and proactive with having these conversations with the children in the community as well. And that way we have everybody's on the same page. Everybody's getting the same training. Because I would hate to see something happen to the neighbor's child, just as I would my own. So we got to extend that level of manhood training and security. And we got to make these men, we got to start making them feel comfortable that when they get in those situations, you don't have anything to prove. Right. You know? And so, so, you know, I have that conversation with my son, and my son knows our perspectives on those things, and we just try to make sure that he stays upright, you know.
And I think that so 2 things. The first thing is we have to understand that we are literally changing the mind of an entire generation.
Correct.
We have a responsibility to do that, not to let the media dictate what they think, but we have to mold their thinking. So when it comes to having the conversation with your son, I believe that you already inadvertently having that conversation before you have the conversation. Here's what if I'm teaching you to be intelligent in conversation, I'm teaching you to be respectful, to be kind, and to expect this response when I act this way, I expect this level of response and I accept no less. You're already teaching your son what to do in that situation when it arises. Also, when it does arise, when someone treats you differently because you look a different way, then we need to start already before telling them, teaching them that that response is an evil response, not necessarily a black and a white response. Because to be honest with you, I don't care why the devil does what he does. Give a care less. It's because I'm black. It's because I'm too tall. It's because I'm too big. I can give a care less. The point is, you're the devil and you're evil. And what you look like, that's evil. So now I don't associate that evil behavior with a person that looks a certain way because we are associative people. If I teach you that you're treating me this way because I'm black and you're white, if I'm not careful, I will inadvertently teach you a blanket behavior that all white people are terrible. All black people are terrible. And I don't do that. So I want to teach you right and wrong, good and evil. And that's evil. And that response, regardless of why he did it, that's evil. If I teach my child that's something that you need to deal with, and this is the way you deal with it, then I believe we do our generation a better justice.
Right.
Gotcha.
That's a good point, Pastor Tim, what he just said, because in essence, you want to teach them what is justice and what does justice look like.
Exactly.
That's exactly what we're talking about. You know, in manhood class that we have in the nation, we're taught that justice is the art of fair dealing. You know, because everyone that comes in the world understands right and wrong. It's just what side are you leaning towards more. So I think that's very particular. I like what Pastor Tim just said about that. We have to teach them what justice looks like and how to ask for justice and know when it's not so much being discriminated against. It's like what he said, with the devil, the definition of a devil is an evil, wicked person. You know, it doesn't really put a hue or any type of characteristic. It tells you it's a person, but that's about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How to judge that. How do you control your emotions so you can be more of a thinker than reactionary? Because, you know, in our community, we have a lot of individuals who just react to things, and we're not proactive with it. So since we're not as proactive as we should be, when these issues come up, it just blows our mind, because then we're just so emotional about the situation, but we're not actively involved in coming up with solutions to these issues that we have the ability to solve. So I think in manhood class and teaching the young men that is very critical, as Brother Mario was pointing out. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. That's point well taken. Hey, so one of the things is, guys, so as we kind of, you know, wrap up season 1 as a whole and everything, and in just the season 1 in preparation for season 2, just kind of round robin piece, kind of highlight, cap out season 1 and what you're looking for in season 2, and then we'll get out of here, and then we'll bid the good people farewell, and we'll see them back on Saturday in June, man, as we come back better, stronger than ever, man, for season 2, man. So whoever wants to kick us off, and let's roll.
Do black being cheap.
Well, with that statement being said, I'll add a response and say, Noops never cheat.
There you go.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I need to give me one of them Langston Alumni Church, Dr. Love.
That's what I'm saying, man.
You know what I'm saying? He's looking at it over there, man. He got his name on it and everything. You must have had that made.
Yeah, man. The wife took care of that. She took care of it.
See how subtly said it? Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. The wife took care of it, man. She took care of that for me.
One thing that I look forward to this next season, brothers, is like Brother Al Shahid said, it's therapeutic for some people to have an open dialogue with more than one opinion to come out of it from men that are godly men. I think our community needs more instruction, conversation, but instructions after the conversation. I think is going to be a key component. So when it talks about how to handle yourself when you are stopped by police, we should let's have that discussion, so where the mother or the father can sit their children down and say, okay, now what? Listen to this. This is a podcast, but it has a segment that's a classroom as well. And talking about those things, parenting, looking at the developmental stage of the child versus, like you telling the 2-year-old to sit down. At that developmental age,
that's not ready for that.
That's not
gonna do it.
They're not going to do it because they don't understand the necessary of why do I need to sit down with all of this energy. I mean, I can jump off the couch on the floor, and I'll be so just understanding those things. And I think that once we this next season, we come in, we've been fine-tuned, we've grown individually, we've grown as a group. I think that we're going to have a wealth of knowledge, but there is going to be, or I hope there's a segment of that where we can provide instructions based on what's going on currently in the world. So if the men need some manhood training, then me and Brother Shahid will take tips from the class and provide those to the community through here. And they can have those things as well. So that's my input, Blue.
Yeah.
I would concur with Brother Mario also. Because some of those things, like us, we deal with the police chiefs a lot. We deal with community activists a lot. We deal with a lot of different things, a lot of different organizations. So, and they all bring something good to the table. So I'll definitely do more of a job of highlighting the things that are working, in the community that's active. But majority of the time, it comes down to resources. So I think, this next season, we need to talk about who wants to pool their resources so we can do something particular in the community, not just an event, but an actual movement or something that's going to be continuous. When we're talking about developing the youth, or we're talking about developing middle age, old, or whatever, because we got to have some type of plan on how we're going to take care of each level of our community, each level. Like Mario was talking about, they may be telling a 2-year-old to sit down. Okay, well, what type of mind is telling the 2-year-old to sit down? What's wrong with their development to think that the child is really? Are you going to ask the child what's wrong with you? and the baby can barely even talk. But the reality that we got to deal with in our community, but it's a lot of communities who are like that. Is have just underdeveloped human beings, that are having babies because it's easy to have a baby. You know what I'm saying? But it's difficult to raise one and cultivate it to be a productive citizen to keep this thing going in a positive way. So I'm definitely looking forward to season 2 so we can be more detailed in that. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Pastor Tim, your comment, was that it?
I didn't hear the last portion. I'm sorry.
Your initial comment was that it?
I'm sorry, I missed that portion. I'm sorry. My wife. I was making sure the music was off.
Oh man. So what's your final conclusion for wrap up for season 1? For season 2.
There's so much, but I guess to wrap up season 1, I guess I would just say it this way, that you're more than enough, that God made you more than enough. And if you are a good steward over what he's given you, your finances will only strengthen and become stronger. And the more you are a good steward over what God gave you, your health in every place can only thrive. And ultimately, God will do with you what he wants to do with you, but you have to do with you what you need to do with you.
Well,
another hashtag.
Man, I just want to conclude season 1, man, saying it's an honor, man, to serve alongside you guys, man, on Saturdays and really promoting great content and giving great content. and providing people with informative information, tips, and tools that they can take into their homes, their lives, their professions each and every day. And I'm glad about the synergy and energy that we created and that will continue on to move into season 2. And I just want to tell everyone, if you have not been tuning into the Brothers Podcast, you can catch all of our past episodes on YouTube. You can catch them all on the Facebook, on the Facebook feed. And then just get ready to move with us into season 2. And I'm telling you, season 2 is going to be off the chain as we dive deep into greater content, more topics, more robust topics that are truly going to feed the soul of men and women. One that's this is the only show I'm gonna say that's gonna be able to hit cross culturally amongst everybody. It's gonna speak to every age category, to everybody, and even children as well too. We are a friendly show. It's a show that promotes unity, empowerment, brotherhood, sisterhood, all of the above. And so season 2, get ready for season 2. It's going to be off the chain. Be on the lookout for promos, videos, and things of that magnitude as we go higher into our calling on the Brothers Podcast. So until the first week in June, on that Saturday, we'll see you. God bless you. May he keep you, and may his face continue to shine upon you and your entire family. We love you guys. We out, and we are the Brothers.
Brothers.
All right, man. Y'all be good, brothers. Love y'all, man.
I love you too.
Same here.
Good luck, man.
All right, bro.